Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to the Ultimate Racing League. We are with the League of Champions in our Sunday Championship. This is round 8 or week 8, and for those of you who play the game regularly, you will recognise that straight in front of you. It is the Nurbergring. We are on the GP circuit, the Grand Prix circuit. Just over 3 miles of it and 15 turns, but more about that in a second. I do want to just give a shout out, if I can, to our sponsors for this season, and that's W.GG, the energy drink for gamers. Head over to their website and check them out. If you enter the code URL7, you may be able to get yourself a bit of discount on some of their products. So, like I say, head over. It's W.GG and have a look. We also have a new sponsor for this season. That's EAC, that's Eldridge Air Conditioning. Fantastic to have you on board with us as well. I'd also just quickly like to say a thanks to Lee Fitzy for sharing these races, because without him I wouldn't be able to bring them to you, so I really do appreciate it, and thanks to you, Lee. Also, if you do like this type of content, then please hit the like button, share them, and if you haven't already, if you could subscribe, it does help us out, it does help promote the channel as well. So if you could do that, I would appreciate it. And thank you very much to everybody that has already. 2 races for you today. At the Nurbergring, the GP circuit, we've got, I think the first one is 16 laps, the second one is 15 laps. Not sure why there's a difference, but we'll find out a little bit later on. I do want to quickly run down the table before we get too carried away. As I say, we're in week 8. So everybody will be quite keen and interested. I did promise last week that I would go down the table. It's all changed since I last looked, but there have been people on holidays and injuries and crashes and all sorts. So if we have a look at the table, then we can see sitting right at the top is Toby on 237 points. Just behind him in second is Neil Farmack on 212. Bailey's in third on 209. Derview is in 4th on 188, and in 5th position is Toten on 174. And then if we're looking at the bottom of the table, because we are getting near to the end of the season and people are fighting to stay up, Paul is on 84 points, Inca Holmes is on 80, Moz is sitting there on 67 points, Seamus Cash on 63, and Sideways George on 62. However, I do believe that Inca Holmes and Moz are no longer with us. They've had to retire from the championship. So that might throw a bit of a spanner in the works towards the end of the season. We shall see. So back to today's race. So that's the table done. The track, as I've said, we are at the Nurbergring. We're on the Grand Prix circuit. It is 3.1 miles long and there are 15 turns. What I've decided to do this time is we'll just have a quick walk around the track, shall we, and have a look at a few of the turns. So as we come to the end of this very long straight, 620 metres of it, you hit the brakes between the 100 and the 50 board, preferably before that white line on the floor, which takes you into turn 1. Very tight right-hander. Bit of a camber in the road there, you can see all the tyre marks, very easy to get thrown out to the left. But as you exit turn 1, you want to drift slightly to the right, again looking at all the tyre marks, which takes you then into turn 2, which is a long sweeping left hand. Very careful on the power as you go through this turn. Across this tiny straight bit in, then to turn 3, which is another tight left-hander. Being very careful on the accelerator again. You can use a lot of this concrete stuff on the left, but you don't want to go too far. And then as you exit that, it is a hard right. Again, nicking a bit of the corner there, letting the car drift out to the left, and then foot down. So then through turn 5, which is actually Valvoline curve, which takes you into 6. A long right-hander, and then onto this downhill straight and up towards turn 7 at the end of the straight. Well, a slight curve in it, but at the end of the straight we come into Dunlop curve, which as you can see is a big sweeping right hand hairpin. Then it's back up the hill, keeping as far to the right as you can, nicking as much as this curb as you can as we turn into turn 8. Still going up the hill into turn 9. You've got to be very careful not to drift out too far to the left and get yourself on that gravel. It will put dirt on the tyres, which will upset you as you go into turn 10. 211, relatively straightforward, a left, then a right with a short straight in between where you can actually give it a bit more power. 10 is a very long right-hander, as you can see, sweeping around the corner. Then it's down the hill all the way, slight turn in the road, but this is where you can really get the power on just before you start up the incline. You can see all the crowd. Give the crowd a wave. You can see all the crowd on the right hand side there. Very fast part of the track, as I say, all the way down towards the chicane. So at the top of the incline, at the end of the straight, you can see the 150 boards there. You're going to be braking somewhere in between them, or these guys are at least, which then takes us into this very tight chicane and then head towards turn 15. You can see the pit lane entry there just on the right. You don't want to be crossing any of those lines. It's a 3-second penalty if you do. And then around turn 15 back onto the long straight. So that's the track. We've had a quick look at it, or slow walk around it, shall we say. Picked out a few spots for you. So what we'll do now is we will crack on and we will go down the grid order after qualifying and see where the guys all line up. So as you can see, we've got Bailey. Bailey missed last week's race. If you remember, he had a big crash during practice and injured his back, so he had to miss last week's race. He's back this week and he's back with a vengeance as well. He's on pole position. Callum 99 is just behind him in second. Neil Farmack is in third. Toby, our current championship leader, is sitting in fourth. Grasshopper is fifth. Smith is sixth. Fitzy 7th. Derview is 8th. Kenny is 9th. Toten is 10th on the grid, and Sideways George is 11th. We are missing 2 guys, and that is Osman. Apparently he's had a big fallout with his pit crew and they refused to get the car ready for this race. So hopefully he'll get that sorted out soon and they'll get that dispute resolved. And you may have noticed as well that Paul is missing. He's on his usual 3-week holiday down in the Bahamas, so he's missing this one as well. But never mind, we do have 11 guys on track. It is a rolling start, so we'll get this one underway. As I say, 16 laps as Bailey takes us towards the start-finish line to get this race underway. We can hear the klaxon going and we are off and racing. We are heading down this straight, 620 metres of it from the end of lap, the end of turn 15 down to turn 1 as Bailey takes us through it. As we mentioned in the walkthrough, you've got to sort of drift out to the right to cut back into the left. Being very careful on the accelerator as well. It's very easy to go wide, but I'm sure these guys are going to make it look very easy as everybody goes through. This is where the bumps and scrapes are likely to happen, around about turns 2, 3. Everybody seems to be through. Bailey's still out in front, so no change yet at the top. The front 3, oh, Callum getting a bit too wide and kicking up a bit of dirt. Maybe trying to blind Neil Farmack with the dust. As they go around turn 7, this big hairpin, then back up the hill again to turn 8 and 9. Now I think I may have done it on the walkthrough. I may have jumped ahead and missed a corner out. but apologies for that, as we see everybody streaming through. First couple of laps is more a case of warming the tyres up. There's no tyre change on this particular race, it's just going to be softs all the way. We may have to manage the fuel, but we should be okay. It is a sprint race after all, so the guys are just going to get around as quick as they can. The second race is usually a tyre change with a pit stop, obviously. Fuel and tyre wear will be higher in race 2, but for race 1 it is just a sprint as Bailey takes us around turn 15 down towards the start finish to start lap 2. You can see him stick to that right hand side to try and break any kind of slipstream that Callum's hoping to get. Neil in there. Let's go on board with Neil as we go around turn 1. If we have a look in the mirrors, Toby is still there, and then a bit of a gap opening up between Toby and his teammate Grasshopper, taking their time around these tricky turns. 3 then 4. Now it's time to get your foot on the noisy pedal down towards turn 5, this left-hander, straight in to turn 6, this right, down through the gears, trying to keep the car on track. You can see Toby creeping up to the back of Neil Farmer. Hard on the brakes again to try and make this turn 7 Dunlop curve. I'm sure there is another track where we have a Dunlop curve as well, and I think, can't remember where it is now. Is it Suzuka or something? No, it's Silverstone. I'm sure people will be telling me in the comments. Not that fantastic with calling the names, although the Germans all spell it K-U-R-V-E, not C, but that's their right to do so. So the top 4 just seem to be pulling ahead of the guys behind. Grasshopper in 5th, just slightly off the pace at the minute, with Fitzy sitting in behind him. Fitzy has his first win last week, if you remember, in Tokyo. He'll be looking for much of the same this week. Then we've got Kenny D in 7th, Berg just behind him in 8th, Toten in 9th. Smith has dropped down to 10th, so we're not quite sure what's happened to Smith. I missed that, so apologies for that. Smith not had a great opening couple of laps. He's finding himself down in 10th position in the slipstream of Toten though. So although Toten's getting a tow as well from the guys in front, oh, sideways George there, just couldn't quite slow it down enough, so decided to use Smith instead. And here we go, bit of a bump there, just couldn't get the car slowed down, so I thought, oh no, Smith's in the way, I'll use him. No, he didn't think that at all. It's just very difficult to get the car slowed down at the end of that straight into turn 1, so that's unlucky for sideways George, although no real harm done. I bet he's got some damage at the front. No. Has Smith got any damage? No, that's good. So they're all facing the right way at least. Oh, and Smith's got a penalty. Now then, did he pick that penalty up? No, he did. I was going to say, did he pick it up as a result of that bump with sideways, but no, I think it's for track limits. Yeah, oh, a second penalty. That's very harsh for Smith. He must have really took a chunk out of that corner, although he's putting the challenge in on Toten, trying to get up on the inside. Toten's not having any of that. He's trying to defend against Smith, although it's a bit pointless really, because even if Smith goes ahead of him, he's still going to have to serve that penalty. So let's just have a look through the field and see what's happening up at the top. Bailey still out in front with Callum behind him. Now Toby's managed to get by Neil Farmack. Neil Farmack's dropped to 4th, so Toby up to 3rd. Toby, our current championship leader, if you remember, by about 25 points from Neil Farmack. So Neil will be desperate to get in front of Toby again. Let's just have a look then. Grasshopper, Toby's teammate, down in 5th as they go through that chicane. that chicane can really unsettle the car as you go through. If you get that wrong, it will actually flip you all the way around. You'll do a 180 in it if you get it completely wrong. But these guys seem to be doing okay at the minute. You can see everybody seems to be getting in the slipstream of everybody else, so no real advantages to be gained at the minute. As Fitzy went deep into that corner, or was he just trying to go around the outside? I'm not sure. Kenny D getting onto the back of Fitzy. Sorry, it was Kenny that went deep, wasn't it? Not Fitzy. I apologise, Lee. So Kenny trying to put the pressure on Fitzy. He's having a look, isn't he? He's pulled alongside. He's having a look at Grasshopper now. He's trying to follow Grasshopper through into turns 5 and 6. Fitzy keeping Kenny behind him as they go down towards turn 7 of the Dunlop curve. This big sweeping hairpin. Kenny having another look. No, he's decided to back out. Fitzy's the one trying to put the pressure on Grasshopper now. Kenny pushing Fitzy along. Fitzy's now having a look at Grasshopper on the inside. Just no room on this track. Oh, as Grasshopper takes a big chunk of sand, and that has cost him. Let's just I just want to go back there and see. So Grasshopper was in 5th, and he's took, oh he has, he's took a big chunk of sand there, and that's allowed Fitzy and Kenny to go through, and Dergy's now going to get right onto the back of Grasshopper as well. He's going to have dirty tyres, so he's going to have to do a few corners to clean them. Derg right on the back of him now. Is Derg going to put a challenge in? He's having a look. He's getting himself in the mirrors of Grasshopper. Down towards the hairpin, up the hill. I don't think Derg's going to quite get it done. And Grasshopper has now caught back up to the back of Fitzy and Kenny. But it just shows the slightest of mistake and it will cost you a couple of places. Toten now putting his teammate under a bit of pressure, or is he going to help him along? I don't think bump drafting is allowed. I think the new rules have been brought in, so it's no bump drafting of any sort. Bump drafting, for those that are wondering what the hell I'm talking about, is when the car behind pushes. Oh, hang on a minute, we've just lost somebody. It's Grasshopper. What happened to Grasshopper? At the end of the straight into turn 1, he gets the car slowed down, and he's just too much power, and the back end has just come straight around on him, and that is so unlucky. He's had to sit there and wait for everybody else to go. He's struggling to get it going. There we go, we're off and running now. So Grasshopper all the way down to 11th. These last couple of laps have been an absolute nightmare for Grasshopper, and that has made his job so much harder now, all the way down in 11th. Back up to our race leader Bailey. Bit of a gap now back to Callum, a few car lengths. Now, as I was saying about the bump drafting, for those that don't know, if the car behind can catch up to the car in front getting the slipstream, he can give him a little bump which pushes the car in front along and helps pull the car behind. So teammates used to be able to do it to each other to help catch up with the guys in front, but then it all got a bit naughty, and we were doing it all the time, so the powers that be have banned it, so no bump drafting at all. Also, just to mention the tyres, since the update, and I've only had one race on it, and at the minute I don't like it, but the good thing is the tyre situation has been sorted, so you can no longer run red tyres. Now, the rule was brought in that you couldn't run red tyres anyway, but apparently the grip really drops off now, and if you get a full red tyre, then you've got no grip at all. So after the update, it's a good job that's been sorted. Apart from that, I don't like any of it. The physics are all wrong for me, but I'm sure I'll get used to it eventually. Somebody who is used to it is Bailey, way out in front and looking very comfortable at the minute. Callum still sitting in behind him. Toby into 3rd now. Neil Formack in 4th, Fitzy in 5th. He's got Kenny for company just behind in 6th. Berg in 7th, Toten 8th. Toten coming under a bit of pressure from Smith. Smith trying to go around the outside. He's trying to get to the cutback. Toten goes very wide there, and a bit of door bashing going on between those two. Toten trying to cut Smith off there. Manages to keep his nose in front. So Toten's still in 8th, although Smith is all over him and putting the pressure on as they go through turn 6. Down the hill now towards the big hairpin. Toten got some defending to do. Is Smith can have a look? If he is, he's going around the outside. Maybe trying to get the cut back. Toten's closed the door on him, or has he? No, Toten's allowed Smith. Oh, I thought Smith had got alongside. These two having a proper ding dong. Let's go on board with Smith as he's desperate to get past Toten. Is he going to make it here? Is he going to put? No, he can't. He's not going to put a challenge in there, surely. There's just no room as they go through turn 9 down the hill towards the chicane through 12. Smith just not close enough to put a challenge on Toten. There's that bump in the chicane, and if you get that wrong it will throw you out. But these guys through no problem. Now Smith, he just needs a really good exit from turn 15 to get onto the back of Toten. Got no pressure behind him at all. Sideways is a long way off. But Smith, although he's in the slipstream, he's just not close enough to Toten. Then it's hard on the brakes. He's got to try and slow it down. Maybe get the cut back, or his Toten. Ooh, bit of a wobble from Toten, but managed to save it. Smith trying to take the tighter line on the inside. Hard on the brakes again. He's nicking as much of that inside curve as possible. Same with this one, but this is where he picked his penalty up last time. Doesn't want to do that again, does he? Still can't get past Toten. Oh, he's having a look at the inside. No, just had to back out at the last second as Toten closed the door on him. Fantastic racing from these two guys, battling it out for 8th spot. Smith not late, easing up on the pressure. Toten soaking it up at the minute. Let's just leave these two and go back up to the top and see what's happening out in front. Bailey still out in front with quite a few car lengths between himself and Callum now. As Bailey heads into the chicane, got to try and keep it nice and tidy through there. Callum still sitting in 2nd with Toby 3rd. These guys spacing out a little bit now. So none of them are going to be in each other's slipstream. So there's going to be no challenge made at the end of this straight on lap 8. We're halfway through. Neil Formack still in 4th. He's hanging in there with these guys, so he is thinking about a podium spot, isn't he, Neil? Just waiting for one of the guys in front of him to make a mistake. We've got Fitzy in 5th. He's got Kenny D not that far behind, but there is a bit of a gap there. And likewise Kenny has got a bit of a gap back to Dirk. Then we've got Toten in 8th. Now he's managed to just get himself a little bit of breathing space away from Smith. Down in 9th. This is not where Smith wanted to be, I'm sure. He's got his teammates up at leading this race, and he's down in 9th. Them two usually hunting pairs, but they're pretty spread out this time round. And then sideways in 10th with Grasshopper down in 11th after that spill he had on I can't remember now, was it lap 4, was it? Lap 4 or 5? And unable to recover from that, so he's all the way down in 11th. hoping to get an interview with Grasshopper in towards the end of the week, maybe next week, early next week, as he picked himself up a half-second penalty there for taking too much of the track. I think he's just desperately trying to catch up. Oh, he really is pushing that Lexus to its limits now, isn't he? He is desperate to catch up and to make some spaces back. He's got 8 laps to do it. Just keep a cool head, Grasshopper, and concentrate on what you're doing. Somebody who's not having these kind of problems at the minute is Bailey. Good to see him back after his injury from last week. Really got a point to prove. Wants to get himself back up to the top of the championship. Let's just have a look. He is about 28 points behind Toby, so it's very doable over the next couple of races, including this one. We will be at Le Mans next week, and it will be an endurance race, I believe. Why wouldn't it, when you are in France at Le Mans? Of course it's going to be an endurance race. So look forward to that one. That one is the final race of the season, so hopefully you can join me for that. I may even be able to get a guest commentator on with me as well, and if we can, even better, but we shall see. But let's concentrate on this one for now, as Bailey takes Bailey on lap 9 at the minute, coming to the end of lap 9, up towards the chicane. Callum still in second, Toby third, Neil Farmack fourth, so no real change excuse me, for these guys up at the top. Fitzy still in 5th, with Kenny and Derg behind. Excuse me. Toten 8th, Smith 9th, so there is no real battles. Everybody is now spread out nice and evenly. So what we'll do is, let me just have a look and see if we can find somebody who is crossing the line. Let's go with Sideways. Let's do a lap with Sideways George as he goes around turn 15, down across the start finish line to start lap 10. So down this slight hill, braking hard into turn 1, trying not to let the car be thrown out to the left, a slight drift to the right, and then it's left and then left. Again on the brakes, you can take a little bit of that curb on the left there, quick flick to the right, foot down now towards turn 5, then into 6. Again trying to get the car slowed down. You don't want to go out there on the left and take too much of that gravel. Down the hill towards the big hairpin, which is turn 7. And then powering through to turns 8 and 9. If you get that right, you can actually do it full throttle, you don't have to lift, but if you don't get the entry right, you will have to ease off, otherwise you get end up in the gravel. With a sweeping right-hander, which is turn 11. Foot down all the way now through 12, up the hill towards the chicane. Careful not to get too much of the curbs, otherwise, as I said before, your car will spin. And then into turn 15, ease it in and then power out, back onto the straight towards the start finish line. So that was a lap with Sideways George, and a good lap it was. A 1:57. Current fastest lap is Bailey with a 1:55. So back up to our leader Bailey, Still not really under a great deal of pressure from Callum. Of course, everybody being in the Lexus, there is no difference in the power unit, so nobody has a real advantage. As far as the cars go, they're all on soft tyres as well, so it does come down to the individual driver. And if we just have a look now, Bailey, he's got half a tank of fuel left, which is more than enough to see him to the end of the race. Tyre wear is not too bad, probably 10-15%. It is pretty identical for Callum, as it will be down the field, I would imagine. Toby about the same. Neil Farmack, yeah, everybody's about the same. Some are better at looking after the tyres than others, but everybody looks about the same tyre wise, so no real advantage there. It is just a case of keeping it on the track, keeping it facing the right direction, and I think this is pretty much how they're going to finish. We are on lap 11, just crossed the line as Bailey to take start lap 12, should I say. Again, no real advantage being gained from slipstream, although it does look like Callum just may have made up a bit of ground on Bailey. Not enough to worry him at the minute. Maybe Callum will start pushing now these last few laps. He may have been holding back and ready to pounce. We shall see. Let's just have a look at the lap time. So Bailey's last lap was a 1:56. Callum's was a 1:55.8. So Callum definitely on a charge. Toby's was a 1:56, Neil was a 1:55, so the guys in second and fourth seem to be the ones trying to do the catch-up. Excuse me. Neil does look like he's gaining on Toby, although he's not quite close enough to put him under any real pressure at the minute. But he will be pushing hard. Neil would like to get in front of Toby, obviously it'll make a difference in the points. Neil just 25 points behind Toby at the minute in the championship. Of course, like I said before, we are missing Osman and Paul, so they would have been in the mix as well with some of these guys. Osman, as I mentioned at the beginning, he's had a bit of a fallout with his pit crew and they refused to get the car ready for this race. And Paul is on holiday in the Bahamas at the minute, as we're watching Neil Farmack now getting right onto the back of Toby. He's definitely going to be in the slipstream as they go through turn 15 onto this long straight, 620 metres of it, down towards turn 1. So Neil is now in the slipstream of Toby. Can he get close enough though to make a challenge? I think he's just going to hold back and sit there, just going to keep the pressure on. That looks like he's doing. He's just going to keep the pressure on to Toby now for at least another lap. Is Callum any closer to Bailey? No, he doesn't look like he is. There's still a couple of car lengths between them. Well, more than a couple, I would say. A bit hard to judge, isn't it, when you look at it like that? I would say maybe three, 4 car lengths between Bailey and Callum. But Toby and Neil is definitely a bit closer. Let's just have a look, see what everybody else is doing. Fitzy in 5th. Definitely not under any pressure at the minute from Kenny. And likewise from Derg. Kenny's not under any pressure from Derg. He's sitting in 7th. He's got his teammate still behind him in 8th. This is pretty much how we've been for the last half a dozen laps. No real movement in positions. Everybody just seems to have settled for the position they're in, with Smith in 9th. Excuse me. Sideways in 10th and Grasshopper down in 11th. So I think, as I say, everybody's pretty much settled for the position they're in. They're just hoping that the guy in front of them is going to make a mistake, as we see Bailey take turn 15. Back on to the start finish straight. and he is going to start lap 14. Let's go on board with Callum as we see the car in front, which is Bailey, taking turn 1. Callum obviously hoping that Bailey's going to make an almighty cock up and gift him a win, but that's very unlikely at the minute. As I say, no pressure from behind. I thought Toby had dropped off after an accident, but he's not. He's still going. It's just there seems to be quite a big gap between Callum and Toby, but an even bigger gap from Neil Farmack to Fitzy. So these front 4 will definitely be the guys on the podium, but in what order they will be remains to be seen. At the minute it is Bailey out in front, Callum in 2nd, Toby 3rd and Neil in 4th. Although Neil is doing his level best to take that spot away from Toby, and as I say, he could really do with the points. Fitzy, Kenny, all having a very quiet race so far. As is Derg and Toten, as I say, they're all spread out now. It's not fantastic for us guys watching it, I know, but it's all good for these guys racing. Waters Smith picks up another penalty, another 1 second. Oh, very harsh, aren't they, the penalties on this track? So Smith's still down in 9. It's not going to alter his track position. Sideways is behind him, but he's not close enough to make any kind of impression on it. And then Grasshopper with a penalty as well, so he's been pushing and pushing and pushing. He just cannot get onto the back of Sideways, and that half-second penalty is not really going to help his cause either. If you look at the map on the top right, you can see that Sideways and Grasshopper are a long way off the main pack, so this is pretty much their positions, but 2 finishes 10th and 11th remains to be seen. Grasshopper is going to do his best to catch up to Sideways and take that 10th spot away, although that half-second penalty isn't going to help him. We're back up to our race leader. Let's go on board with Bailey. Let's just have a look and see where Callum is. He can see him in his mirrors. There's not a massive amount of pressure at the minute, although I know that Bailey will have one eye on that mirror, seeing Callum's car. He wants to keep that gap that he's got. Doesn't want to let Callum get any closer and give him an opportunity to make a move on him. As we go up the incline towards the chicane for the 15th time, with one more lap after this. Just got to keep it nice and tidy. A little bit of a twitch there, but Bailey kept it under control. Callum's still there as well. So down towards the start finish line and across the start lap 16. So Bailey out in front, Callum 2nd, Toby still in 3rd, keeping Neil Farmack behind him. Oh, Toby went very deep, but then again Neil followed him. So Toby's able to keep hold of that 3rd position. Then we've got Fitzy in 5th, winner of one of last week's races. Kenny in 6th. And we've got Derg and Toten, so 2 teammates now battling it out. Will there be any kind of team orders, or will Derg just stay in 7th? Maybe he'll let Toten through, who knows? Toten might just sit there, be quite happy to sit there in 8th. Obviously we can't hear the radio communications between the two drivers and the pit crew, so we don't know what's being said. Maybe Toten's just being told to ease off and let take 7th position. Then we've got Smith in 9th, Sideways in 10th, and Grasshopper down in 11th. So back up to our race leader as he goes up the incline towards the chicane for the last time in this race. Led from the start. Had a pretty faultless race as Bailey. Same with Callum. So it will be Bailey that crosses the line to take the win. So well done to him. Callum comes in 2nd. It looks like Toby is going to manage to hold on to that 3rd podium. And he has. Neil Farmack coming in 4th. Fitzy just rounding turn 15. Incidentally, it's Coca-Cola curve. He's turn 15 and Fitzy takes 5th with Kenny in 6th. Derg is going to take 7th from Toten in 8th. Then Smith in 9th. Sideways he's going to come round in 10th as long as he can keep Grasshopper behind him. Well, Grasshopper's got a half-second penalty which will equate to 1 second in the final standing. So Sideways 10th, Grasshopper 11th. That was race 1. I hope you can join me for race 2 back here in Germany at the Nurbergring, coming up very shortly.